Welcome back to movementprofessional.com. So today I want to discuss the topic of intermittent compression to deal with swelling. So when one gets injured, there is several stages of the healing process. Initially, there's the inflammatory stage, which is different than swelling. So inflammation and swelling are two different things. Inflammation would be the typical, right after injury where there's pain, there's redness, there's some heat around the area, and the purpose of that is, one, it aids the healing process, so it's a very necessary thing, but it also will kind of limit your motion purposely. You don't want to put weight through a painful area. You really won't be able to. It'll be too painful to do that. So it forces you to kind of shut down for a short amount of time until the inflammation can do its job and start the healing process up. Once that, sometimes 48 hours, sometimes 72 hours, depending on the injury, once that initial inflammatory stage is through, you are often left with this waste product of swelling. And swelling would be, if you've ever had an ankle sprain, would be the size, the big size of the ankle. It's not necessarily the pain involved with it, but it's just the size. And that's separate from the inflammation. A lot of times they get mixed up. And at that point, that needs to be circulated out of that system through active motion and compression. All right, so this is where the intermittent compression can come into play, and I've seen really good results with this clinically. It can also be used preventatively to improve mobility around the joint if there is some chronic swelling that a lot of people have. Just around the joint that makes it, builds up pressure around that joint and stiffens things up more than need be. All right, so just go through the ankle and the knee and just some techniques to use this band to just help in the elimination of some of this fluid. All right, so you're going to go on the ground here, or you can use a table, use a bed, whatever. You want to start by wrapping. We're going to go at the foot here. We're going to start by wrapping a little bit tighter down at the foot compared to as we go about a half a band width. With each wrap, we're going to get a little bit less tension as we go up. Okay. So maybe about 75% tension down by the foot to 50 to 25 as we get a little bit higher there. All right. So you do want to feel like there is some good compression, but we're really not trying to necessarily choke off the circulation or anything like that. All right, and then the key is to add active motion in a direction that is outside of the gravity-dependent position. So we want to basically go distal to proximal motion. So we're going to get on your back, bring the knee in, kick up, so you get some of this muscle action happening. I'm extending my knee using my quadricep. I'm pointing the toes using the posterior leg muscles here, and then I'm flexing using the anterior leg muscles here, and just creating that muscle pump. All right, and we're going in the opposite direction, but gravity is now assisting the flow of this fluid back into the lymphatic system. You have the lymphatic vessels in your groin, you have them in your axilla, your armpit area, and in your throat. And we're just pumping the ankle about 10 times, bring it down. So I would usually put a timer on for about 2 minutes and do about 10 ankle pumps intermittently, bringing the knee in, bending the knee, straightening it, 10 ankle pumps. All right, so about 2 minutes worth of that work. And then you just take the band off. And if you were having any swelling, you just kind of eyeball, see if there's any difference in the circumference of the foot. All right, then we can take about a 2-minute rest, repeat that 2 to 3 times. All right, we can also look if there's a little bit more swelling around the knee. It's good to start down by the foot and kind of work up the body. You can start working around the knee. So we'll start, same idea, wrap a little bit below the knee, start a bit tighter at the bottom, and then loosen up your wrap as you come a bit higher. And then just tuck it in. And it's really can be the same exercise. Alright, so here I would focus on making sure that you really get this knee straight, so you don't want to be too much in a stretch where you can't get the quadricep firing. So you want to get into a full terminal knee extension here, quadriceps firing, alright, anterior tibialis is now firing, right, and then you're just pumping the ankle, so you'll feel more compression now in this area, but the concept is the same. We're just trying to use muscle pumping action to flow the fluid back into the lymphatic system. Adding the compression just makes this much more effective. Okay, so it's really the same exercise, you just have the band wrapped in a different position. Alright, so the technique here is not challenging, it's quite simple, it's the concept that's more important. It's important to know that after any type of injury, or if you know that you have chronic swelling in certain areas, that a lot of times it's going to be less about the activity that you're doing that creates more swelling, but more about the chronic positioning when you're in a gravity-dependent position where your feet are below your hips, all right, standing, sitting, and think about how often we do that kind of stuff. That's what's going to have it flow through there. So the more you can just be pumping your ankles, kicking your knee, while you're in those positions, changing position, muscle pumping will get all this stuff firing out of there, and then whenever you can, lie down and put a band on there, you can just add to this process and kind of counterbalance all the work that you're doing in the other direction. Alright, so let me know if you have any questions. See you next time.